Let's rewind the clock. Who exactly was Robert F. Kennedy, often called RFK? Born in 1925, he was the seventh child in the famously ambitious Kennedy family. Imagine growing up in the shadow of an older brother who'd become president. Now, you might be thinking, did RFK just ride on the Kennedy name? Not quite. From a young age, he showed a relentless drive. He attended Harvard, served in the Navy, and faced personal tragedy early on. You see, resilience became his trademark. One pivotal term you'll hear about is public service. For RFK, it wasn't just a phrase. It was a way of life, woven into his family's DNA, like the double helix twisting through every generation. Here's a fun fact. Even as a child, RFK was known for defending the underdog, a pattern that would define his career. Sibling rivalry? More like preparation for national battles ahead. So, as we dive deeper, keep in mind the formative forces that shaped RFK: family legacy, early adversity, and an unshakable sense of duty. These threads run through every chapter of his life. Fast forward to the 1960 seconds. RFK becomes Attorney General under his brother, President John F. Kennedy. But what does that role actually mean? Think of the Attorney General as the nation's top lawyer responsible for upholding justice and steering national law enforcement. Now, imagine stepping into that office when organized crime syndicates think the mafia hold enormous power. RFK launches a crusade against them, using tools like wiretapping, basically legal phone surveillance, and grand juries, panels that decide if charges should be filed. Why risk making powerful enemies, you might ask? Well, RFK believed in the rule of law, like a referee ensuring fair play, even if both teams are bigger than he is. But this crusade wasn't just about criminals in suits. He confronted systemic issues, civil rights violations, corruption, and racial injustice. In fact, RFK's Justice Department sued states that refused black students entry to universities, introducing the concept of federal intervention when the national government steps in to enforce rights. His years as Attorney General set the stage for his public persona, a tough, principled reformer who wasn't afraid to take on the establishment even when it meant standing alone. Let's talk about RFK's civil rights journey. Did you know he evolved from cautious skeptic to passionate advocate? When he first took office, some activists questioned his commitment, but RFK listened and learned. A turning point came in 1962 with the James Meredith case. Meredith, a black Air Force veteran, wanted to attend the University of Mississippi. State officials resisted and violence erupted. RFK sent federal marshals to protect Meredith. Federal marshals are like peacekeepers, enforcing national laws when local authorities refuse. You might wonder, was it worth the risk? RFK received death threats, but he pressed on. He saw the law not just as words on paper, but as a shield for the vulnerable. He even coordinated with Martin Luther King Jr., forging unlikely alliances. RFK began speaking out against de facto segregation. That's when separation happens in practice, not just by law. He saw poverty and injustice linked, so he expanded his mission to fight economic inequality, coining the term poverty warrior among his staff. In sum, RFK's civil rights legacy wasn't just about laws changed, but hearts and minds moved. He showed that true leadership means changing course when justice demands it. After his brother's assassination in 1963, RFK was devastated. But in 1964, he ran for U.S. Senate from New York, a bold move for a Massachusetts-born Kennedy. Why? He wanted to continue public service on his own terms. In the Senate, RFK tackled Vietnam War policy and urban poverty, two deeply divisive issues. He criticized the war's escalation, urging negotiation over force. Some called this dovish. Think of a dove as a symbol of peace versus a hawk for war. Urban poverty became his passion. He visited the Mississippi Delta and Bedford-Stuyvesant in Brooklyn, witnessing systemic deprivation that's entrenched lack of access to basic needs. He started experimental programs, linking business and community leaders to spark local renewal. Now, you might be thinking, wasn't RFK just a politician? But his Senate record shows a blend of idealism and pragmatism. He listened to everyday people, not just party insiders. The overarching theme. RFK saw government as a tool for empathy. If leaders can't feel the pain of their constituents, he argued, they can't fix the problems that matter most. Tragically, RFK's 1,968 presidential campaign was cut short by assassination. But the echoes of his vision resonate today. Why do so many still look to RFK for inspiration? He believed in moral courage, doing the right thing even when it's unpopular. In a time of polarization, that's a rare quality. Sometimes, I ask myself, how would RFK confront today's challenges? Racial injustice, political violence, economic inequality. RFK's big idea was generational responsibility, the notion that our choices ripple through the future, like stones in a pond. He championed youth engagement, environmentalism, and human rights long before they were mainstream. Now, you might be wondering, can one person really make a difference? RFK's life answers, yes, if you act with empathy and conviction. His legacy lives on in laws, movements, and the hearts of those who believe in a more just society. So, as we reflect on RFK, remember, history isn't just past, it's a blueprint. What will you do with the example he set?